So hello, everyone. Welcome to the first of the series of speaker sessions as part of our UN Celebration Week. 24th October marks the anniversary of this day in 1945 when the UN Charter entered into force. UN Day is celebrated every year to offer the opportunity to amplify the common agenda and sort of reaffirm the purposes and the principles of the UN Charter. So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers. First, we have Namrata Budhraja. Namrata comes with very strong academic credentials, having done her graduation from Lady Shri Ram College from Delhi and MBA in strategy from HEC Paris. She also has a strong consulting background prior to being the co-founder of the marketplace platform called Shift Eco. So Namrata, if you could just share a few words for us about yourself and Shift Eco, it'd be great.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction, Shalini, and thank you, Arjun and Shalini, for organizing this amazing event. It is UN Day today, and it is an important time for all of us to sit and try to connect with the UN SDGs that was set in 2015. So it's really great to see organizations taking the time to discuss this with people. So thank you for that. To tell you a little bit about myself, you've done a bit of an introduction already, Shalini. Just to add to it, my background has primarily been in HR, in consulting. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. And one of the large projects I was doing when I was in consulting was around sustainability and introducing sustainability to young students in Saudi Arabia. And I think that's what really sparked my interest towards social entrepreneurship and led me to start Shift Eco in October last year. Yes, we started Shift Eco in the middle of the pandemic. So it's been a really interesting journey and I look forward to telling you more about it, but I'll allow you to introduce Arjun as well.
Sure. Thanks so much, Namrata, and welcome to Impact Consulting Bangalore platform. So next over to introducing Arjun. So Arjun, of course, as I'm hoping everybody who's attending the session would know, he is our president. And of course, he's been a huge part of Impact Consulting Bangalore, not just setting up ICB Bangalore, but he's been part of the global hub as well. He brings with him a wide range of experience in various roles such as strategy, business development, marketing, product management, etc. He is very passionate about making a positive difference to the world around him. And he's worked on several sustainability and social impact projects. So Arjun, over to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the nice introduction, Shalini. And in fact, you covered all the points I had to introduce myself. And thanks for hosting this. This is our first video session for ICB. And thanks, Namrata, for being the chief guest for the first ever session we are having. Well, we are celebrating UN SDGs. So of course, we'll come to that point later. But a bit about myself. Yes, I'm someone who has a wide range of experiences, a jack of all, if one can call it. I've worked in, I started off being an engineer, worked in operating systems and cards, smart cards, and then shifted to the R&D where futuristic products will be designed. And after that, shift towards business side happened, whereas I shifted to management consulting, where I was part of a few NGOs as well. And after that, I'm a product guy right now with Robert Bosch, where I manage end-to-end product responsibilities. So to put it in one sentence, I've worked across roles, management consulting, technology, pre-sales, business development, product, etc., and across organizations, whether it's an NGO or a startup or a global MNC. And sustainability is very close to my heart, and that's why Impact happened. That's why IC happened, and through IC, ICB happened. So we'll be happy to discuss more during this call.
Lovely, Arjun. Thanks so much. So before I get into asking either of you any questions, just a bit of a context setting for the audience that our goal at ICB is that whatever your role is in industry or personally or professionally, we really hope that you can get a takeaway from this, a new idea, a fresh perspective. If you're in business, a different strategy that you can apply that helps you become not just more sustainable, but more successful in whatever you're doing. So I really hope that we try to live up to that expectation that we've set for ourselves for today. So I'm going to kick this off by starting with the man of the hour of sorts, which is the UN Day. The personal takeaway for both of you in terms of that space. So this year, the theme is building back together for peace and prosperity. What does that mean for each of you in your personal lives, in the space that you're in terms of Shiftico? How does that translate? I'll start off with you, Namrata.
Right. So how this UN Day really translates for us is, and it kind of links back to what we are trying to do at Shiftico, right? Shiftico's aim is try to encourage people to make small shifts in their daily lifestyle, shifts that have a larger impact. So what we really, I think for us, what it means is to continue making sustainable living easy for people by making these products easily accessible, by spending time educating consumers about key aspects about living sustainably, and making the space a lot more accessible. Because what's come to happen is everyone knows about the climate crisis, everyone knows what's happening with the environment, but all of us look at it as if it's not my problem, it's somebody else's problem. So I think for us, what it means is to draw back the attention to individuals, to kind of take the responsibility and ownership about their consumption and to improve their consumption behaviors to not have a negative impact on the planet.
Wow, that sounds really, I mean, it's there in each one of you, and you don't need to wait for somebody else to solve the problem. That's really a lovely way of kind of bringing it together. Really looking forward to hearing more about how Shiftico kind of came into place. But Arjun, I'm going to bring that same question to you in terms of what does United Nations Day mean for you?
Well, United Nations, even from a younger age, for me, when I think of world organization, the first thing that comes to mind is UN. It's like a grandfather of world organization. So the gamut of things that they do, right from overall unity in the world, unity and peace. Apart from that, promoting culture, promoting economy, UNICEF, UNESCO, health, all these things, like the entire range is there. So if someone was in charge of looking after the world, and if that were to be an organization, it would be UNO. So especially now that we have started Impact, UN Day means a lot to us because the whole point is Impact does work in UN SDG space. So UN Day means everything to us, and that's why we even launched our Insta and Twitter accounts on UN Day. And also wanted this UN Day to be celebrated over a week because one day is not sufficient. So we are launching our first series of speaker sessions this week. So UN Day means a lot, and we want to celebrate such occasions very regularly, and looking forward to make a positive impact. I heard Namrata end her statement by saying, cut down on the negative impact. In the same way, we also have to start making positive impact through impact consulting. That's the aim.
Great, lovely. So, Namrata, I'm going to want to understand a little bit more about Shiftico. I like the part which you mentioned about the Saudi Arabia with the kids in terms of catching them young in that sustainability journey. But in terms of understanding that a little bit more, as well as what really was that one trigger. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of things, and what was the last straw on the camel's back of sorts, which really made Shiftico really happen. It'd be lovely to understand that.
So it's a really funny story, and not many people can relate to it. But sometime in April or I think March last year, I walked into a supermarket in Dubai, and as with every supermarket, full of plastic, lots of plastic-filled items all over. And in the middle of all of this, I came across something as simple as a bamboo toothbrush. I was pretty intrigued by it. I looked at it. I said, yeah, I mean, looks good. Yes, the price point is slightly higher, but I said, okay, let me give it a try. And really, Shalini, it was the easiest and simplest thing I did. And thinking about just using that bamboo toothbrush, I called up Sukriti and I said, my co-founder Sukriti, and I said, this is such a simple shift that people can make. Swap your plastic toothbrush with a bamboo toothbrush. Why are more people not talking about it? Why is this not mainstream? And that was the inception of the idea. And like with everyone else running businesses, we wanted to understand the problems consumers face further. So then we decided to delve into a research study to understand what is consumer intent in terms of living an eco-friendly lifestyle. And what we realized was that 95% of the people that that completed the survey said that they care about the environment and they want to do something about it. However, only 40% were doing something about it today. So while there was intent to do good, very few people were being able to follow through. And I think we were really intrigued. We were like, okay, why is it that even though we all intrinsically want to do better, don't want to harm the environment, we want to do positive change for the environment, but why aren't we following through? And then we realized that there are a lot of issues people have with living sustainably. So they talked about a lack of availability of products, a lack of information. There's also a lot of greenwashing that happens where brands pose as eco-friendly and green, and they charge a lot of money. So there's a lack of information, a lack of transparency in the space. Then people talked about price points. And they said that, sustainable living is the issue of the rich. It's their problem to solve, not us, because it's too expensive. And then the fourth thing that they really talked about was sustainable living can be very intimidating, because a lot of people, when they talk about, I'm living a zero waste lifestyle, I'm not doing anything that has a harmful effect, because the fact is today as consumers, we're all convenience driven individuals. We do not imagine to change our entire life around sustainability. So people get scared. They say, how can I do everything right? The whole pressure of doing it perfectly inhibits them from taking the first step. And looking at all these problems, we really found a gap in the market. And that's what really encouraged us to start Shift Eco in UAE, and UAE more specifically, because there's so much we as consumers can do. The UAE culture is so much about consumerism, right? So here we are trying to get the community together to talk about key aspects of sustainable living, trying to get sustainable businesses together, and trying to build a platform which makes it easy for people to have access to these products, to have a platform where they can ask these questions, build knowledge, because we don't want to just sell products. We also have this other arm of our business called Learn with Shift Eco, where we do talks like this. On a monthly basis, we pick a topic every fortnight. We call, experts from the industry to come in, and we allow people to send in questions, to participate, and we record them and we put them up on our website so that people have access to this information, have access to, a platform where they can ask these questions. A lot of people talk about organic being better, but why is organic better? When is organic not better? Asking those difficult questions. So we don't want to just sell products. We also have this section on our website where it says, do it yourself. Don't buy a product, make the product at home if you think your budget doesn't allow. So in that sense, of course, we are a for-profit company, but we are trying to really, like, this whole Learn with Shift Eco is a completely, we don't charge for it. It's totally free. We're really trying to build out that awareness piece on sustainable living and the responsible consumption, which leads back to the SDG. We're really trying to encourage responsible consumerism, conscious consumerism. And then at the back of it, we're trying to aggregate and support producers that are, sort of building out these responsible products as well, which don't harm the planet as well as us and our health. Sorry, that was a really long one.
No, that's really fascinating.
I just
for profit, but for planet first.
Yeah,
Yes.
really nice. So that's so lovely. I mean, Namrata, it sounds like you're not just making products available. It's like if you want to be making that first step for the planet and be aware, just come and reach out to us. We'll tell you what to do. It's just being that phase of thought leadership in that space, right? That's a great thing that you're really doing. I mean, I don't think we knew this much, and one special thanks again for doing this, because usually brands try to do in terms of, I love the part where you're saying it's not just we have this to sell, but if that's not in your budget, we'll tell you what to do. I mean, that's a great space for where a brand just means beyond just what they're standing for, but just those principles that you're really driving for the consumers. That's such a lovely space that you're in, but I'm sure it comes with a crazy amount of challenges. I'm sure the ride hasn't been easy at all. It's just if there's somebody who's listening and would like to start something like this in a small city, wherever, like for example, in Kerala, instead of a tongue cleaner, they use the plant and tree leaves center. So, I mean, can I create something with that? Yeah, you never know. So, is there something that you can give as a point so that these people could get inspired to, make that small difference in their own way? Maybe nothing as big as you're doing, but in their own way, some small difference.
No, but I think any difference is great, right? It doesn't matter the scale of it. I think in our own environments and our own realities, like for example, if today I'm living a conscious lifestyle, it rubs off on my family, it rubs off on my friends. If, for example, yesterday I was at a cafe, I was having a coffee, and the lady decided to put in a straw in my coffee without asking me. And I actually stepped back and I said, why have you put a straw in my coffee when I didn't ask for it? I didn't need it. I was not taking a takeaway. I was sitting there and drinking the coffee. And she looks at me and she says, ma'am, but it's not plastic. I said, even if it's not plastic, it's something that I don't need. I can very well pick up a cup and, sip it myself. I don't need a straw. So I think it's about those good conversations. What I would say if I had to encourage someone, I would say nothing is too small. You should be able to do anything in your small way. Everything doesn't have to be massive and big, and in your own small way, whatever you can do, it's good for you, it's good for generations ahead. So I would always encourage anything small, big that people are interested to do, that they are authentically doing. So yeah, that would be my response.
So Arjun, I'm going to bring you to the part of the discussion right now, because when Namrata mentioned, even if it's something small, every small thing counts. And I think we are also at that space where we probably haven't really done anything big, but we're really hoping to make impact with like tiny drops of water kind of a thing to make something big, right? So if you could just tell us a little bit about ICB in that space and how we really hope to make that kind of an impact.
So ICB, to give an introduction to people who are not too familiar with impact itself. So what ICB does is, let's say, there is a demand side and a supply side. Okay? So there are NGOs and startups and social enterprises who are working under UN SDGs. Could be no poverty, zero hunger, climate action, health and education, gender equality, climate action, anything. So these organizations, since they are NGOs and startups, can't afford millions of rupees or tens of thousands of dollars to hire consulting services in order to solve their business problems, which is could be marketing strategy, growth strategy, could be market survey or market entry strategy, digital transformation, whatever, right? So for those people who are making a difference to the world, a positive impact, if they don't have right support, then they'll just have to, they will stagnate or maybe don't grow. So that's when impact comes. So these organizations are our demand. They demand the management consulting services from us. And on the other side, on the supply side, we have young and aspiring individuals who are management consultant aspirants, or people who want to grow in their business professionals, or there are people who care a lot about sustainability and making positive impact. So these people want to work on live projects, want to gain experience with the live project, with the business, with the startup, and they want to also expand their network in this space. So we are providing them the platform to do that. That's on the supply side. So we are the place where which meets the demand and the supply. So that way, we are actually getting month on month, we are getting more and more startups and NGOs, and we are solving their business problems at the same time, giving experience and awareness on sustainability. So ICB was formed with that aim, and at ICB, of course, on our LinkedIn page, you can follow. We'll be talking about three things. Right? One is about startups, NGOs which are in this space. We are trying to promote them and expose it to the world, and increase the eyeballs. One is that. Another one is on the supply side. We are helping aspirants of people who want to get into management consulting. We are providing them with the platform where they get trained. They are getting career counseling sessions. They are getting trained on what are the different career options, and also coaching them on case cracking and giving them more knowledge and sustainability. And thirdly, we also want to be a space more like thought leaders in sustainability. So by organizing events like this, where we talk about all the different aspects of SDGs, and getting experts who are in this field, and asking them to share their knowledge and share their 2 cents with our community. So that's what we are going to be.
Thanks, Arjun. And I found a lot of synergy between both what the two of you just mentioned. And I know that that synergy isn't just here, there's some synergy in the past as well. So I'm going to draw upon both of you to share the experience. I know that when Arjun was part of Impact Consulting Global, there was a project that he's worked with you, and would like to understand a little bit more, so that the viewers can also understand how that journey really goes about, what it is there to be offered in terms of the consulting space, and what are the kind of problems that can get addressed in this space. So if you could probably share what was a problem statement that you had really shared, and Arjun, if you can just really help elaborate a little bit more on how that consulting assignment went and the solution part of it, that'd be really great.
Right. Namrata, I will start off on how I approached you, and then after that you can take over and you can tell how the engagement is happening as well.
Yeah.
So, well, Namrata is my senior at my B school. So we both studied from HEC Paris. She graduated in the year 2014. I graduated in the year 2015. We had a few months of overlap where we were in the same campus in Jean-Jossin in near Paris. So I knew from LinkedIn that Namrata is starting something in sustainability space, and she's in the sustainable product company, Organic Products. So when I started with Impact Consulting Global, where I was acquiring projects in the APAC region, I realized that someone I know is actually, the first thing you do is you approach people in your network, in the first circle. And I knew that Namrata is doing something like this. So I reached out to her and I called her and explained what Impact does. And I explained, okay, if you have any burning business question, then we can get it answered through our services. And she was more than receptive. She loved the idea, and for her it was all about making a positive impact to the world. Right? And she also she was very positive, and she took us on board. And that's when our first project with Shiftyco happened. So I would let Namrata to take it from here.
Sure. So I think firstly, it was really great of Arjun to reach out to me. I think my thought on impact consulting more broadly is that it's a really amazing initiative. And when I have a little bit more time, I'd want to actually be part of it more formally. But I think as a concept, it's really great, because it is true that as startups and as NGOs, you don't have the budgets for a consulting team to come in and look at your problem statement and give you solutions. Consulting by default is an expensive service only for the MNCs, right? So I think by that logic, I think it's a great platform for young students to pick up consulting skills, companies like ours to actually get the intel that we need. So it's actually a really great platform, and the idea is fantastic. So I think from our side at Shiftyco, as a platform and as a young company, we're a bootstrap company. We haven't picked up funding yet. We have been running the e-commerce platform. We work on a commission basis with our suppliers, which are mostly local. We do import some products from outside. But I think one thing that we really wanted to do was launch our own brand of products. So we've launched a line of products, and we've called it Rethink. And the whole aim of Rethink is for us to rethink our choices when it comes to single-use plastic. So we're really targeting and focusing on single-use plastic and trying to provide durable, stylish options for people which are absolutely affordable to switch to a reusable sort of a mindset, because this entire culture of use once and throw has to stop. The amount of plastic bottles we use, the amount of these plastic bags we use, it's just ridiculous. So when we launched Rethink, we've launched Rethink in August, actually kind of like September this year. And we want to now grow internationally with our private label, which is Rethink. Given both myself and my co-founder Sukriti have a background in India, and knowing that India is now, the demand for sustainable living is increasing in India, although mainly in the, the metros right now, we wanted to do a market entry analysis to see what would be the cost of entering India, how should we roll out our implementation in the country, what kind of other players are there in the market. So we wanted to do a formal market entry project. We've been working with the team since the last month and a half. We're still midway, so I can't tell you the output of the project yet. We're still midway in the project. We have a gentleman called Sandeep leading the project. He's absolutely excellent. And he's working then with a team of students from across India. Sandeep is based in the UAE, so he understands the UAE context. He works in a similar FMCG environment, so he understands the kind of work we need very clearly. And he's then leading a team of 6-7 students that are then doing a lot of research, and they have different streams for the research. We're midway in the project. They've done a research study with consumers in India to get their point of view on sustainable living. They've done a competitor analysis as well. They've done interviews with certain sustainable companies in India to see how their journey has been as businesses. So this is the work that's been done so far. The project will end in December. So maybe I'll be in a better position to tell you about the outputs of it. But so far it's been fantastic and it's been really great. So thank you so much, Arjun, for connecting me and getting us on board.
Kudos to the team.
Yeah, Arjun, please go ahead.
Kudos to the team who's working on this, like Sandeep Gupta and his team, of course.
Yeah, Sandeep's is doing a really good job.
This sounds great. So I'm going to delve a little bit more into Shift Eco. While you mentioned the space that you're in, would like to understand a little bit more in terms of tangible numbers that you're looking, if they're not confidential, if you don't mind sharing, in terms of, this is the amount of plastic that you want to reduce in terms of percentage, or in terms of people converting, anything that you can share. It will just be an eye opener for us in terms of understanding the space of impact in that sense.
Right. So, since we were a young company, right? So for us, the initial thing is about how do you build awareness of your brand? And the minute you build awareness, your impact comes side by side, right? So when we're looking at impact, we measure impact by how much plastic we're displacing. So we've kept a target of 500,000 for this year. And when you look at 500,000, it's the great thing about this space is that once we acquire a customer, the repeat orders, or the amount of times the customers coming back to our platform, or retention rate, as they call it in the industry, is about 50%, which is quite high. So while we're in a niche sector, and we're in a sector where you're trying to change behavior, right? So one is you're addressing the need of people who already want it. Second is it's a latent need. People want to do it, they don't know how, so you're kind of shifting needs. So it takes a little longer for that shift to happen. So for us, we're really focused on plastic in that sense. When we talk about numbers, we started the platform with just 100 products. And now today we're at 1,500 products on our platform. Because what's been really interesting is that we wanted to firstly focus on local, because one of the key sustainability initiatives, you want to encourage local industry, right? Unfortunately, in a place like UAE, a lot is imported. But we wanted to focus on what is the existing sustainable products that sit in UAE. So what we did was we developed a green code, a guiding principles for us, so that we make sure any product that comes on our platform meets at least one of these goals. So this could be things like plastic free, it could be cruelty free, fair trade, it could be reusable, it could be organic. So it's a different level that we go to. And now, because we have 1,500 products, it makes people, because nowadays people want diversity, people want, they want to be able to choose, if I'm buying.
Multitude of options of sorts is what they use now, right? That's what's presented to them.
Exactly. So like the Amazons of the world have just like changed the way consumers want to behave. They want to go on the platform. They want to say, oh, if I'm buying a shampoo bar, I want 5-6 shampoo bars that I can select from. So we have that variety now. So I think for us, we've seen a lot of growth. What we've also started to do now is we've partnered with other companies. So we're now available on Etihad Rewards. So anyone that so the idea is that if you are, the whole concept of carbon offsetting, so they've said, okay, if you're flying, you want to offset your carbon, there are ways of doing that. So they've announced something called Green Rewards, which we've partnered with them on, where our products are now available for all the, your reward points that you have on Etihad. Likewise, we're partnering with other local stores, because a lot of these products people want to touch and feel as well, because in the UAE, the pandemic, the country has opened up since quite a while, right? And now the weather here is getting better, so people want to go out, they want to go and touch, feel your products. So we participate a lot in these pop-up markets to give that access to people. We work with some offline stores to make our products available. So I think we've actually gone beyond Shifty.co as a platform in that sense, which is where our model kind of is hybrid, so not purely e-commerce, because we feel that that works better. So we work with not just consumers, we've also gone to the business side of it, because businesses do a lot of corporate gifting, and they were reaching out to us for, gifting green, or like instead of gifting, just having a nicer approach to gifting. So we're helping them with things like that as well now. So I think our model has become a lot more hybrid in that sense.
That sounds great. I mean, I've actually read about the Etihad Rewards. There's a mangrove tree plantation work also associated with it, right? Yes, I remember that connection. So yeah, that makes sense. I mean, especially when you travel, there's a lot of guilt coming into you in terms of the extent of the carbon footprint that you're extending. I mean, of course, a lot of people do sustainable travel of sorts in terms of the work, but yeah, this sounds like a great initiative in terms of making people feel better in terms of their efforts. I was actually going to ask you, what next? Do you see physical presence? But you've sort of answered that already for me.
No, so actually, no, I don't see physical presence. I think for us, it's just about brand awareness right now. So we do a lot of pop-up markets, but I don't see us opening a store like a Shifty.co store anytime.
Being present in other retailers, that's something that you're seeing in the future.
Exactly. So we don't mind going omni-channel with other retailers, but we don't plan to do that ourselves. That's just not the business we're in. But the idea is to get reach for these products. Something Sukriti and I talk about really often is, how do we make these products mainstream? Because there's a gap. You don't have so many products there. There's not so much awareness. The availability is not there. So the idea is also to make it a bit mainstream, where it becomes second nature for people to choose these products, to buy from local producers. Like everything doesn't have to come from out. So if people have that basic stuff in place, we're okay if they're not buying from our platform, but buying from, another vendor as well.
That's a really, I don't know the right word for it, I'm not sure, but that's such a warm gesture, way of looking at things, that it doesn't really matter if you just need to do the right thing. It doesn't matter if you're doing the right thing, partnering with us. That's a very lovely it's a very interesting, rather philosophical mindset of sorts in that way, in terms of, just do the right thing. It doesn't matter how, is interesting.
No, but having said that, of course, you have business interests to meet. So we do balance that because at the end, it has to be a balance of both. But we partner with a lot of local companies. Like we're working with a lot of people who look at them as competitors. But I think the idea is to collaborate and come together and drive that change together. So of course, financially, we have to balance our own financial interests to make sure we're also a financially stable organization. We do draw that balance, but broadly, we're very open to collaboration. We're very open in that sense.
Yes, I guess it's also in that space, right? It's not a very aware consumer. You're still in that space of creating that need and really driving that category. And when you're not really piggybacking on somebody and really setting up the category for the future, I think it's important to take that kind of larger than life mindset that you're doing right now. So that's a great space. Yeah. Arjun, I'm going to give you the chance to just join in here in terms of the conversation.
Sure. I mean, I had a few questions. Like, first and foremost, our Dean Bernard Garrett used to say that there is cooperation, there's competition, and the cooperation, which is both competition and cooperation. I think that's where we are headed, right? Everyone is trying to partner, have strategic partners and such things. So that way, I just wanted to know, because even here at Impact, we alone can't do much, right? We want to create an ecosystem. So what kind of an ecosystem are you trying to build around Shift Eco? I mean, eco and ecosystem. Now, what kind of an ecosystem are you building around that?
Yeah. So when you talk about an ecosystem with Shift Eco, the one thing is, because we're an aggregator platform, Arjun, we are already working with all the local suppliers. So we already have a community that's trying to do the same thing. What we try to do is we have this thing in our Learn with Shift Eco, where we try to highlight businesses and individuals that are doing really well in living sustainably. We call it sustainability star of the month. We call it brand spotlight of the month. So we write about some brands that are not even listed on our platform. We write about them. For example, last month, we wrote about a brand in Dubai called Thrift for Good, where you're really trying to encourage, because the entire fashion industry provides so much waste. It's causing so much in this entire environmental crisis. So encourage people to buy secondhand and make that normal. So this shop Thrift for Good is doing some amazing work, and they're an NGO. So we write about them, we work a lot with them, we do events with them. And this is nothing to do with Shift Eco, in the sense we're not selling their products on our platform, because Shift Eco is not in the fashion space at all. But it's another brand in the sustainability space trying to do similar things. Likewise, we work with individuals that are making a lot of impact. So this month we had a focus on this French lady called Celine, who's running this entire blog on clean eating, good for the environment and for you. And she writes about a lot of hacks. She gives a lot of recipes. She gives a lot of intel on how do you live sustainably. So when we're looking at community, we try to encourage in our environment, which is in UAE currently, we try and work with people who are like-minded. We try to work with people who have the same ethos. We collaborate with them either through them listing on our platform, or through highlighting them on our blog, or doing events with them. So it depends, but the idea is to build conversation about them, write about brands that are doing really interesting work. There's another company called the Waste Lab, where they're helping homes. They're basically helping people compost at home. So it's a solution where people come to your house twice a month, check on your compost, because composting can be quite tedious for a layman who's not composted before. So again, their solution is not offered on our platform, but they're doing such amazing work that we're working closely with them to see how we can support them. So I think for us, it's more about working with like-minded individuals, building that ecosystem, that community, building that dialogue together.
And that way, if I can
Sustainable
follow up
living
with,
community of sorts, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
if I may follow my question with another question.
Yeah.
So, if you could name any three uh, sustainable initiatives
Yeah.
in the world, it could be anything. It could be a company or the work they are doing, or it could be any three sustainable initiatives that has caught your attention. What would it be?
That's a really good question and also a tough question, but I'll talk about this company called Loop. Have you guys heard of it?
No.
Doesn't ring a bell, sorry.
Okay. It does ring a bell. Okay, so the entire concept of circular economy is really big now, right? So people are trying to, cut waste. So Loop is a company which is in the consumer goods space. It's made a global reuse platform. So the whole idea is eliminate waste by getting larger players. Like, for example, think of it like Haagen-Dazs. Think of it like herbal essences. They've started creating containers that instead of buying the plastic containers, you actually buy steel containers. You buy your products from these larger brands in steel containers, and you have a loop thing where whenever you need a refill, you apply for a refill online, and they come and they deliver it to you in that same reusable container, and there's no plastic involved. The amazing thing about them is that they're working with the world's biggest brands. Even McDonald's is apparently signed up with them. They're, of course, a publicly traded company, so their pockets are pretty deep to do something like that and to work with such brands. But what has been quite interesting for me is to see the kind of brands they've been able to bring to their platform. They've got all sorts of brands from Ariel to, I think even Coca-Cola, if I'm not wrong. They've got Haagen-Dazs, they've got, they've even got McDonald's. So I think the whole concept of this single-use cutting and eliminating waste in this consumer industry, they've really nailed it. So this is a really big company I'm talking about. Then there's this other initiative in the UK, also a really young startup that I really look up to. It's a company called The Good Club. They are trying to do a similar thing, but they are focusing on grocery. So they have started, so they're eliminating waste. So we all buy staples, we buy our rice, we buy our dals, we buy all of that, right? And each month we are buying more and more plastic each time. They are starting a system where all this gets delivered to your house in steel jars or reusable jars, where, okay, once you've used it, they come, take it back, sanitize the jars, and they give you a new set. So I think solutions like this are very, very interesting. It's difficult for young and small companies to implement systems like this. I heard of a company in Bombay that was trying to do this as well. I can't remember the name right now, but for me, these are initiatives that are great. It's like going back to basics, the same milkman concept, right? Where the guy would come and he would give you the bottles, or like, think back how we used to get our Coca-Cola back in the day, right? You had a crate, you had those glass bottles, you'd give back the glass bottles and you get another set. It's literally going back to basics, and maybe that's what we need to do. And it's funny that organizations need to reinvent themselves and reinvent all these systems to make that happen. But it's for me, it's really inspiring to see it happen. And I think these are really great initiatives, according to me.
They sound like fascinating initiatives in terms of, just make it simple kind of a thing.
Check it out. It's called exploreloop.com. Check them out. They're pretty interesting.
We're kind of towards the end of the session. Actually, we've got ahead of time, but I just still have one last question, and it's actually to both of you, because you just mentioned this exact space, saying that what is that small thing? What's that basic thing that you can do to make that difference? And would love to hear from you, because both of you are in that sustainability space. If you could just share your personal hacks, where as an individual seeing this, there's a small difference that they can make themselves. It'd be great to hear from that.
Do you want to go first, Arjun?
Okay, I thought you'll have wonderful answers. For me, I think it's on a macro side and a micro side. On micro side, when individuals do, I think just being aware that, well, if you're leaving a room, switch off the lights. You know, don't have running water, and take instead of having a shower with the shower. What do you call the faucet? Just use a bucket, like even Sachin Tendulkar used that for Mumbai example. So that those things, or when you're ordering from Zomato, which is these days, they by default they don't send cutlery. So try to avoid cutlery if you don't need it. So, and also when you're going out, don't litter these space. So all such small things individually you can do that as well. One thing, and then from a micro level, I can think of a few things which as organizations and as some startups or social enterprises have done. In Bangalore itself, food is my favorite charity. There, they started something called Sanchi Gonzu, where it literally means one for the bag, where people, when they go to a restaurant, they can give some extra money to the restaurant and buy an extra coupon. And that coupon, how many ever coupons you have, they lay out so many meals. Like they'll keep the coupons aside. So a person, if he or she can't afford meals, they can just go pick a coupon and then get their food. So something like this has been tried in some other part of the world. That's good. And there are some organizations who have corporate lunches and parties, and after these events, whatever is left, they give it to orphanages or old age homes. There are some startups in Europe. I've seen some where if there is anything which is going to be which is perishable and going to go bad in a few days, they can actually send it across to people who can't afford such things. So by doing such things at an individual level and also as an organization level, it's good. These are micro hacks. Macro, definitely, I would say electric vehicles. It's been a huge trend. So that's changing the way the world will operate in the coming decade. So hydrogen fuel or whatever renewable source of energy. And another macro being food again. I read somewhere that um, the majority of greenhouse emissions happen due to animal farming, animal rearing. So that we can cut down through stem cell research, alternate protein, having plant-based meat or stem cell-based meat. So all these things, these are happening at a macro level. So I think this is where we are heading. We are going in the right direction. The most important part is to educate people, empower them. As they say, give a man a fish, you can feed him for a day. But if you teach him fishing, you can feed him forever. So we as in Shifty Co Impact Consulting, every one of us have to create this awareness around us and drive people towards sustainability.
Wow. Thanks so much, Arjun. Namrata, over to you.
Okay, so Shalini, I'm going to answer your question in a very consumer-centric manner to see what individuals, anyone watching, can do personally. So that's how I'm going to look at your question. So I would say a few things, right? Very, very simple things. Never forget your reusable bottle. Carry your own reusable bottle wherever you go. Make sure it's filled up. Look for spots where you can refill your bottle. It's an easy, simple shift to make. And you save a lot, because what people don't know is that when you're buying your plastic bottles leach microplastics into your system. So it's actually really bad for your health as well. Like, if your focus is your health and not the environment for a minute. So keep that in mind too. I would really encourage people to carry reusable cups. The coffee culture is really set in the world now. We're all used to going to our Starbucks, to our baristas, to always buying coffee. If we have a reusable cup, we're really saving this entire single-use concept, right? We can easily cut that. So I know that these are things that you need to think of before you're going. You have to have your reusable cup in your bottle in your bag, but it could become a permanent fixture. Like in your laptop bag, just have a cup and a bottle. That's not asking so much, right? I would encourage people to think of a bamboo toothbrush. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but at least give it a try. It's not much pricier than a regular toothbrush, and it has a massive impact. We change toothbrushes every 4 or 5 weeks. That's again single-use plastic all down the drain, and a bamboo toothbrush cleans your teeth just as well. So there is no problem in the output. I would also really encourage people about water consumption. There are also a lot of, especially in places like Bangalore, where you are right now, there's always concerns of a drought and water shortages that are going to creep in. So think of water saving devices. They're very easily accessible. So essentially, when we're washing our dishes, the water is running really fast. You put that device in, you just have to, it's just one time putting it in. It basically cuts your, it sprays water instead of everything just gushing down. So you basically save 50-60% of water. So I would really encourage, and there are lots of these options available in India already. It's just about, Google, you'll find enough options there. I would also suggest, like, yes, electric vehicles is great, but I know it's also a bit unaffordable. But
at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, at least currently. But yeah, I would say just do small things, carry your reusable bags, try to cut plastic where you can. Also, don't buy when you don't need. A lot of things about living sustainability is refusing, so also learn how to refuse. I know Bangalore is great with recycling. So if you don't compost, look up Dairy Dump. They're a great company doing really great work in Bangalore. And I would really suggest, think of composting. It's not hard. They've actually got amazing videos to walk you through the entire process. So think of things like that, and don't get overwhelmed. Do one thing, don't change everything around together. It may be overwhelming. Do one thing, make that a habit, then switch to another. And it's okay if you're not doing things perfectly. Let it be a journey for you. But over time, these mindful changes will be good for you, your health, as well as the planet. So just start doing small things. It doesn't have to be anything too dramatic. At least that's the way I look at it. And yeah, that would be my advice.
Sounds great. I mean, it's just the exact parting note, right? Every small impact matters, and just be on that journey and try to stick to it. That's a lovely parting word. I think we've really overshot time. So Namrata and Arjun, thank you both for joining us, and really appreciate the conversation, the candid conversations that both of you have had with us.
Thank you.